Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor and you've seen my other recent videos, you know that today is my first video, my first day of my year-long deep dive into the Lenormand system. Yes, the Lenormand system. I'm cracking open that box for myself and for us. Now, if you are an experienced Lenormand reader, experienced in the sense of more experienced than me and more experienced at reading for others, I ask for your patience, because while I have been learning for a while and I have been practicing for myself for a while, I am experimenting with this system in the context of doing the videos that I do on this channel, which are focusing on how we can live our lives more intentionally. And so I'm experimenting with, can this system answer the kind of question that I ask every week, which is how can we live our lives more intentionally? I believe it can. Now, most people who talk about Lenormand say that they prefer or they favor Lenormand for very practical questions. And I'm not sure how practical the question of how can we live our lives more intentionally is, but we're going to be trying it out. One thing that is sometimes hinted at or even blatantly stated by some people who read Lenormand or who talk about Lenormand, maybe not readers, but people who talk about Lenormand, is that they believe it's not an intuitive system, that it's really clear-cut. This card means this thing, the end. And to a certain extent, I agree with that. To a certain extent, that is true. There's no getting around it that a bear, for example, is probably a strong, powerful person, or strength, or right? However, there's more than one meaning for each card. There's more than one keyword. If you cracked open any of the Lenormand books, you know that there's a whole list of keywords that are generally in the same universe, but are not the same. And sometimes there's even a list of keywords that can be somewhat self-contradictory. The fox, for example. There are different traditions for reading Lenormand. Yeah, or some people would say schools, some people would say traditions. There's the more French school of Lenormand reading, and there's the more Germanic school of Lenormand reading. And I tend to be more Germanic in the way that I read Lenormand. But considering there are all these possibilities around each card, now true, you look at the picture of the bear, you're not going to be looking at, well, this bear in this deck is doing this, whereas this bear in that deck is doing something else, and so we'll read these differently. However, there are such a slew of possible meanings for each card in either a noun form, a verb form, an adjective form, that there is intuition in this, our ability to choose the words and the ideas that fit the question that we're asking at the time. And not only fit the question, but also fit the other cards that we're reading them in conjunction with, right? Because we read the cards not singularly, not by themselves, but in lines. In lines of, for me, 3. Sometimes 2 or 3. Those are the major concepts that we have. So we put these two cards with a slew of different keywords together, and we try to find the ones that we intuit, the ones that match the cards and the situation at this time. So for me, there is a depth of intuition that is not often talked about when regarding or considering Lenormand. And so I'm going to be processing some of that with you here on this channel as we read on a weekly basis for about a year. Now, a little bit more housekeeping. If you've seen my recent housekeeping video, you might want to skip over this part. But for this series, I am going to start off with a 6-card spread with 4 more cards tossed in, and we'll talk about those in a second. And I'll probably stick with this 6-card spread for a couple of lunar cycles. What I'm planning on doing is keeping one set of decks for one lunar cycle, and then I'll switch out. I'll probably keep this 6-card spread with 4 additional for a couple of lunar cycles, and then I might graduate to a 9-card spread for a couple of lunar cycles, maybe 3. That would get us up to half a year. And then I might start pulling in a couple of other spreads that I know regarding Lenormand. There's a 13-card spread that I've learned, which is called a star spread. There's a 7-card spread all in a line, which is read a little bit differently. There are a couple of other spreads, and I might start playing with those further on down the line. But I'm going to start off with a good 6-card and then probably move up to the 9. Unless you've got another idea, you'd like me to try something else, let me know. I'm struggling with the idea of doing a grand tableau on this channel because I'm not sure how I would do that in video form in this context. I've also got ideas about shifting. There are ways of drawing random houses. Okay, so that's a whole other conversation. Let's not go there. Okay, what I'm talking about is that if you read a grand tableau, each card is in a house, which means kind of like houses of a zodiac, yeah? The first house of the grand tableau is the rider, right? The second house is the ship. So whatever card lands in the house of the rider, that gives another layer of context, right? Another card that would land in the house of the ship gives another layer of context. I'm sorry, 2 is clover. 2 would be clover, and so whatever card would land there would give another layer of context. But there's a way I've seen of pulling house cards and smaller Lenormand cards. The house cards are Lenormand cards as well. But you'd shuffle the deck, you would lay out a number of cards as houses randomly, and then you would place your smaller deck on top of those and think of the Lenormand card on top as the card in the house of this, whatever position those two happen to land in the spread. I know that sounds really complicated, but it's really interesting, and that might be what we graduate to later on in the series of my year-long deep dive. These are just some things that I'm toying with. And I've been toying with them for a while, so any input from you would be greatly welcomed. Okay, friends, before we get into the spread, you saw the title for this week's video, right? The Book of Secrets. We'll get into why I chose that title for this video later on. But before we get into the video, before I show you the spread, I'd like to talk about secrets in relation to living an intentional life. Those of us who live an intentional life, those who try, who work on, who explore what it means to live life intentionally, know very clearly that we cannot know everything when making our intentions. What do I mean? We know that the limited awareness that we have here in these wonderful, beautiful, co-creating human bodies and brains, that the awareness, the consciousness that is focused through this apparatus is limited. And it is impossible for us as sensing human beings in this physical universe to know everything. or even much of everything, or even a little bit of everything. Our perceptive abilities are very, very limited. We only see a very, very limited range of the electromagnetic scale. We only hear a very, very limited range of the auditory input that is possible. We only are able to sense a certain amount of things as far as size by our fingers. Things that are too small we can't sense, right? Things that are too big we can't sense. There's a very, very limited range of information that we can receive, and even all of the stuff that we can receive, we cannot process that, and we eliminate a lot of that before we start working on it and trying to make sense of it in these brains, right? So we know that there is, I'd say, an infinite amount of information in the eternal now that we are incapable of processing as human minds in this physical universe. And so their secrets abound. Now we can focus our attention on this and that, and we can perhaps crack open a different page of the book of secrets that is this physical universe. But it is a book of secrets to these physical minds. Now, our non-physical aspect, the eternal nature that we are, has access to all of that information at every moment of the eternal now, if that makes sense. But for us, this physical universe is a book of secrets. So how do we live life intentionally? We trust. We trust that the secret that is relevant to us will be revealed to us at the right time if we are open to that revelation. If we are open to moving with the beautiful, powerful current of intention that carries us in the direction of our evolution into the beings who have the experiences that we want to have. Because we evolve into the being who falls in love with the person we want to fall in love with. If we were evolved into that being right now, that person would be here for us right now. We evolve into the being who is able to read Lenormand. You get what I'm saying? So we flow with our power of intention, with intention. We flow with intention, and we open to that power. And we trust that this book of secrets, that is the physical universe, will reveal the information that is helpful for us, that we will require in order to continue the journey in the direction that we have intended for ourselves. And this spread, very interestingly, points in that direction, in addition to many other directions. So, friends, without talking more and making things more confusing, I'm still trying to work out how to get this Lenormand thing recorded for you. Let me show you the spread. So I will show you the spread. We'll talk about the decks that are there, and I'll tell you about the parts, and then we will move into reading the parts of the spread, just like we would when we were working with tarot only. So friends, here's the spread. What do you think of those cards? Do you recognize the Lenormand deck that I'm using in the center? Well, it's called the Game of Hope. It's called the Game of Hope, and it was a German invention, and the deck that I'm using is produced by the wonderful creator at I think her name is Lily, at Big Cartel, and I'll put a link to that deck in the description box below. It's print by order. The cardstock is phenomenal. There are other Game of Hope decks out there, mass market, but this one is the first one I'm starting off with for this lunar cycle. Love the deck. You saw 4 cards around it, right? Those are from a deck called the Centennial Borderless Tarot, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I like it. This is my bedside deck, to let you, just so you know. Yeah. So, what are we going to do? What did you just see? There were 6 cards there, right? The 3 cards on top give us the current situation. The 3 cards below give us the supporting information. And then the 4 cards around from the tarot deck. I know, I can't keep my hands off of tarot. The 4 cards around from the tarot deck are cards that are for the 4 elements. So the upper left hand, for you, the upper left hand card was the card for fire. The lower right hand card was the card for water. The upper right hand card is the card for air. The lower left hand card is the card for earth. And I'll be reading those to give us a little bit more information and advice regarding the 6 cards in the center. So what I'm going to do is I will show you the 6 cards in the center once more, and I think we're going to read those all in one fell swoop. And then I'll show you the 4 cards from the tarot, and then we'll read those and see where we get. All right? So friends, here are the 6 cards from the Lenormand deck, up close and personal. Oh, by the way, I'll put a link to the Centennial Borderless just in case. I'm sure it's on Amazon. There will be a link down there too. Here's the spread. Have I told you that I'm nervous about doing this? Friends, you saw from left to right on the top, we had the bear, the moon, and the mountain. And then below those 3, from left to right, we had the star, the heart, and the fox. When laying out a spread like this, the first thing I want to do is notice how many are positive and how many are negative. And you'll see that in this spread, we've got a bit of a mixed bag, but they lean towards the positive, right? The mountain is negative. The fox, for some, are purely negative, but for me, it's a neutral negative card. The moon is neutral positive. The heart is positive. The bear is neutral, and the stars are positive. So, yeah, the one absolutely negative card, the mountain, is canceled out by one of the positive cards, right? The neutral positive and the neutral negative kind of cancel each other out. So we've got one positive and one neutral. So it leans, this whole spread leans toward the positive. Where are we starting? We're going to start with the top line. Yeah, we'll start with the bear, mountain, moon and mountain. And I'll show you the cards. Yeah, the bear. Now the bear is a card for strength or being strong. That's the support, it's a supportive creature. For some it could be a cuddle bear, a cuddly, like a teddy bear kind of thing. But in the workplace, for example, if this were a work reading, we could be thinking about a supervisor, a boss. Someone not at the top of the company, but like an immediate supervisor, someone who has power over our lives. This is a calm creature. This is also a card for strength, inner strength. For some, it could be a jealous man, if we're talking about people. I won't be probably talking much about people except for the 2 people cards, but I will mention them here and there. There might be a possibility that perhaps like the idea of the bear as a powerful woman, a matriarch, could come up. An older woman. Maybe a scary woman. Though that's a person reading for the bear card. Yeah? So we've got that idea of strength, maybe maternal strength, maybe a jealous man's strength, maybe a cuddle strength, but it could be a supportive strength, right? All around the idea of strength. The next card is the moon. And the moon can be several things. Now, the moon could be intuition and emotions, our dream life for some people. But it could also be recognition and reputation. Now, how we're perceived by others, how we are perceived in the world. For some people, the moon is a job card, not so much for me. But it could be success, like the rising of the moon, the rising of our reputation. Yeah, the rising of our being recognized. It can also be a heart business. Something that, like an interest that we're passionate about. And it might have some financial gains for us or some kind of secondary business or secondary job feeling. Like, for example, for me, I've got a couple of side gigs. I teach English at a university. That's my main job. I also have a side job through the university as a librarian, an English librarian. That could be my moon area. I also sometimes teach camps. That could be my moon area, a side gig. But also this channel could be my moon gig, right? I'm not getting money directly from this channel. I do get a little bit of money sometimes from reading, but not, I wouldn't call it like a side gig yet. But that could be it as well. So there are many ways of recognizing the moon. And then the next card, the negative card of the spread, is the mountain, right? Which is obstacles. Things that block us or challenge us in a more negative sense. Not challenge us like, well, it could be challenging us in this positive sense of you see Everest, you want to climb to the top, right? But more often it's the challenge that is more negative, that stands in our way. But it's not a challenge that's insurmountable. It's not really a no card. It's not a don't do this card. It could for some people be an enemy. Speaking of people. So how are we going to read these three cards together? In this line, now, when we combine cards, they are often read in different ways depending on the card we're reading it with, right? What I get from this line of cards is that in our conscious sphere, in our conscious space, how can we live our lives more intentionally in this coming week? The first card is our noun. Now strength is called for. Our ability to perhaps support others is called for. Right? And what kind of strength are we called for here? Our inner strength. We want that inner strength to be recognizable, but we want that inner strength to be emotional as well. From the moon card, yeah? We want our inner strength to be not cold rational, but heartful. Now, of course, this isn't the heart card, but we want our intuition and our dreams to support our strength, if that makes sense. We could also want to have strength in our heart business as well, which could be, like I said, a side gig. Maybe that side gig could be helping, supporting our strength. Because, why? Because there are obstacles, there are challenges facing us right now. They're not insurmountable. Oh, sorry, where did I skip to? Yeah, because of this. There are obstacles, there are challenges facing us now. So the top line, I think, is telling us that we want our heart business strength, our intuitive emotional strength, to assist us in the face of challenges that we might be coming up against in the coming week. Right? And then what's below that? Below that, we start off with a really, really positive card. We've got the star card, supported by the next card. But first, let's start off with the star, which is what? It's good fortune. It's being, sometimes it could be being the star, yeah? Shining bright, be getting noticed in a way that's different from the moon, right? Moon is our recognition, our reputation. This is boing, I'm popping up onto the scene, being the star, being noticeable. This could be the dreams come true card for some. It could also be destiny, like the destiny that's mapped out in our stars. It could be guidance, our North Star, something to follow. Like if the ship were next, maybe definitely that would be the journey of following our North Star. It could be prophecy for some people. The next card also is a very, very positive card. It's the heart. And our heart, what is that? It's love. It's also the love of doing something. Yeah? It's joy. It's a really positive yes card. Maybe not as strong a yes as the key card, but still, it's a positive yes card. And it could be a person. If it's a person, it's an attractive or friendly fellow. It's someone who knows someone who looks out for the younger or the weaker among us. Yeah, that's from the Jack of Hearts being the associated card. Do you see that? Now, if you've seen these cards, we've got two different key cards here on this deck, because one of them is the more French system, which is the one on the right for me. So that would be this guy here is the French system, and the card up on the left is the German system, which instead of clovers, they are acorns. Instead of clubs, they are acorns. Instead of diamonds, they are, what are they? They are bells, I think. So we don't have any diamonds here. We've only got hearts and clubs in this spread, which is interesting right there, right? So anyways, so the Jack of Hearts. The Jack of Hearts could also point to a person being an attractive or friendly fellow, someone who looks out for the welfare of the younger or the weaker. Don't think that's going to be part of the reading, but I just thought I'd pass that along. And the next card is the Fox card, which is generally negative, but can also be neutral, depending on the reader. I know one excellent teacher who gets really irritated by people who move this card into the neutral area of interpretation, but for me, I'm sorry, I'm going to do that sometimes. Just saying. So, the fox can be just out and out something or someone is wrong or false, right? It's the trickster. It's the wrong thing. It's a warning card. It could be deception, situations not being quite right. But it could also be, okay, for some people, this is the work card. Not for me, just saying. For some people, this is the work card. For me, it is not. I'm just going to lay that out on the table. But it could be having the cleverness of a fox. It could be being able to think outside the box to be able to get the thing done that needs to be done. It could be duty as well. So these are quite different ranges of interpretation for this one little itty bitty card. So, what does that mean for us here? Well, we start off with the star card as the noun. Now, the noun, good fortune, is here. In our undercurrent of understanding, good fortune is here. Things going our way are possible. And we might have some guidance. Guidance of what? Guidance of the heart, our love, doing what we love, being with people we love guides us. Yeah, we have loving guidance, the guidance of love. We have the destiny of love assisting us, which is great assistance because we could be facing some things. We might need to be thinking outside of the box. Here, this is the direction I'm going to be going here. We probably need to think outside of the box. We'll probably need to be clever. Our cleverness, our brains, our ability to figure out our own path will be very helpful for us. Right? Why? Let's get some supporting information. There are a couple of ways of getting supporting information from this 6-card spread. We read the vertical lines. So top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, with the top always being the more emphasized, the more noun part of the sentence. And then we can read in V's. We'll get to that in just a moment. But let's start off with the first vertical pair, which is what? Which is bear and, let me find it, bear and star. So, bear and star, what do they tell us? Bear and star. We have help out there, I think. And that help is fortunate. It leads our way. We might be able to look for a mentor or find a mentor or somebody in person or online that is able to help point our way, that is going to give us direction, that is going to give us some guidance, right? Why? Well, the next card, we have two kind of love cards, right? We have our emotions in the moon and we have the heart with love. So we also have the power of love and loving what we do, and that might be pointing to our, instead of our day-to-day normal everyday jobs, the things that we love to do. Whether it's a hobby or it's actually a side gig that we do because we love it. For me, it could be this channel. For me, it could be reading tarot. For me, it could be the classes that I'm teaching. I'm teaching a group of students. I'm teaching tarot to a group of students, to a group of well-wishers who gather once a week and we learn tarot. It could be that as well, for me. So, our love of doing the things that we love to do is going to be of benefit for us as we move, perhaps with the guidance of others, or maybe in our own inner strength, pointing the direction we want to go. And we get what? Which will help us in the face of this. The mountain and the fox. Right? The mountain and the fox. There's an obstacle there that is just wrong. There's something. We could have put it there. There could be somebody there who is actually standing in our way. There's an obstacle there that is just wrong. But we will need to find our way around it with the knowledge that we might have a little bit of a guide from the bear who could give us a way to find our direction. But it could also be our inner strength and our inner guide, fueled by our heart, fueled by the love of doing what we love to do, that will get us around this mountain, which it could be a person or an obstacle created by somebody, ourselves. Sometimes we're our own enemies, right? Ourselves or by somebody else, right? So there's another layer of information for us to gain from these 6 cards. What is that? Well, we can start with the first V, which would be bear, heart, and mountain. Yeah, we start, instead of the 3 cards going across, we read a V. Upper, for you it would be upper left, center bottom, upper right would be 1 V. So we would go from the bear to the heart to the mountain. The bear to the heart to the mountain. Let me find those cards. We've got the bear, we got the mountain, and we got the heart. Okay. Bear plus heart plus mountain. There we go. There. What do we get? Well, I got a couple things here. We might be the mentor. We might be the mother. We might be the boss. The boss who guides with heart. The boss who guides with joy. Or we might look out for somebody like that. Again, we got that idea of that strength. We might find that strength from outside, or we might find that strength from within. Right? We want that guidance to be heart-led, heartful, joyful. And that will lead us around the mountain, because if we notice these cards, the mountain can be read directionally. There are 2 sides of the mountain. Yeah, there's a light side and the dark side, and some decks have the light side on one side, on the right. Some decks have the light side on the left. There's an easier path and a more difficult path around the mountain, right? And so we notice that to get the light path around the obstacle, this is the way we want to do it. Now we want to either find a leader or find our leadership from within, our strong, protective, inner bear. That is heart-centered, that is joy-centered. That will lead us around this mountain, this obstacle that could be coming in our way. And that's the way living an intentional life is, right? We open up with joy and with love, and the water naturally flows, finds the easiest path around any obstacles. That's why the current of intention never does run straight, because nothing in nature runs absolutely, almost nothing in nature runs absolutely straight, right? Lasers might be an exception, but in the longest view, even lasers arc a little bit. That's a discussion that I am not capable of getting into, but still, nothing really goes in an absolutely straight line. And so, the natural way is to flow around obstacles rather. Now, sometimes we wait and we're patient and we allow our power to eat away at the obstacle. Like water will do that, right? Water will eat away and dissolve an obstacle in its path, but its first choice is to find the easiest path around things, and that's what I think these 3 cards are pointing us towards. And then the next 3 cards are what? The next 3 cards are the star, the moon, and the fox. Let me put them in order. The star, the moon, and the fox. What does that tell us? Well, we are blessed. We have good fortune. Right? We have a guide. We have a star that will guide us. And that guiding star is could be our reputation. It could be our reputation in the world will guide us. But I think our heart business, the things that we love doing in life, the things that we do outside of our day-to-day jobs, those will be our guiding light. And we might be called to think out of the box. I'm reading the fox. You can't really see the fox, can you? We may be called to think out of the box with the fox this time. Yeah? The way around this obstacle in the mountain might be to find a path that we've never tried before. to get our minds around something new, which is guided by our North Star, our morality, but also by our love of doing the things that we love to do. And that will help crack open the box for us to find the path, which will help us get around the mountain, right? Does that make sense? This is, I think, more than just slightly positive reading, even though there is this mountain obstacle thing in our path. So, we got 4 cards from the Tarot that will give us a little bit of assistance. Let me show you those cards and talk about them right now. Oops, sorry, I forgot one important thing. The reason that I titled this video, The Book of Secrets. Okay, there's one more way to read, to extract the juices from Lenormand with the cards, with the card associations. And one way that I learned is to do a little bit of math. So, I'll only read the 3 and 3, the 3 cards on top and the 3 cards on the bottom. So, the top, we got 10, 8, and 8, which adds up to what? It adds up to 26, right? 26 is the book. So, an additional concept for this top spread is the book, Secrets. We read the numbers at the bottom. Star is 6, heart is Jack, the fox is 9. Jack is 11, 9, that's 20. 11 plus 9 is 20, plus 6, 26. The book, Secrets. We had, very interestingly, a doubling of the... Now, for some people who read Tarot de Marseille, they add the numbers up and get the quintessence. You could think of this as the quintessence of the Lenormand. Yeah? So we did the math and we came up with an additional theme idea for both lines, and both lines pointed us towards the same darn card, which is the book, which is what? It's secrets, right? It's things that are not shown yet. Now, in a reading, you can read the book directionally. One side where the spine is the thing that is not open, that we probably won't know about. The side where the pages are, where you could open it, things that will be revealed or are being revealed. But since we don't have it in the spread itself, we're not going to be reading directionally. So it's the Book of Secrets, things that are not shown yet. And yet what has been hidden will be revealed. Wonderful. Wonderful for living our lives intentionally. It's a neutral negative card, but we're going to go towards the neutral side, I believe. Things that were hidden will be revealed and will be beneficial for us. It could be knowledge, things that we want to know. Some things could be closed, that knowledge that we don't and will not have access to. But it could also be our studying, our learning. So the things that I think this spread are pointing towards are: 1, things that we have not known and will want to know will be revealed when it's appropriate. Also, we might want to do a little bit of learning. I know that's true for me. I'm going to continue reading and studying Lenormand as I go through this year of deep diving with you. So in order for that whole thing above to be pertinent, to be relevant, to be beneficial for us, we want to do the work of opening the book and allowing the book to open when it's time. Yeah, we recognize that the information we need will be available when it is correct, if and when we are open to it. Also, we open ourselves to doing a little bit of the study work on our own, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so now, really, I'm going to show you those tarot cards. Here they are. So these 4 cards are the elemental element of the spread, which means that we've got the fire, which is our passions, our drives, our libido, our instincts, our what do we call it? When our inspiration, yeah. The water is our emotions, our intuition, our spiritual connection, our love, our flow, if you will. The air is our rational thought, our viewpoint, our perspective, our planning. And then the earth is our work and our bodies and our resources. So I'm going to read with dignities, which if you know, means that every one of the four elements has one element that is its best, well, it's when matched with itself, it's great. Yeah, it has another element that is its best bud. They build each other up. So for fire, that best bud is air. Yeah, there is an element that is neutral. It doesn't build it up, doesn't tear it down. And for fire, that element is earth. Although for some people, earth does support fire because fire will burn better if it's on dry land. For example, the fourth element, the fourth element is the one that is ill-dignified. It's the one that it fights with, that saps its energy. Yeah? And so, reading with dignities, you saw, first off, in the fire section, we had a cups card, which is water, which is ill-dignified. We have the four of cups. Down in the water section, we had the tower, which is disruptive, right? In the air section, we have the four of swords, which is hunky-dory. That's great. And then in the earth section, we have the five of cups, which is fine. Actually, what am I saying? It's wonderful because water and earth give each other power. And we're going to start off with the four of cups because this is where we get into our first bit of trouble in the fire section. Our passions, our libido, our inspiration is pretty darned watered down here. Yeah? The four of cups, this is turning our attention inward and away from external directions, distractions, which could be beneficial. It could be a little bit of meditation, although for me, the real meditation card is the four of swords, but there's an emotionally meditative aspect to this card. There's introspection. There could be reflection and contemplation here, but there's really a lot of apathy. Yeah? Ennui is the key word that I mostly associate with the Four of Cups. So our passions are drained, are poured out. Our passions are unenergized. We want to reevaluate. Are we disappointed? Have we encountered a disappointment that has caused the energy to just flow out of our fire? That's something for us to think about here. And maybe that's what is creating that obstacle. Maybe that obstacle is self-created in the mountain. Then we move into the water, which is what? It's the tower. It's a cracking down. We've got this emotional breakdown, an emotional cracking down. The tower is sudden change, right? Something might have suddenly disrupted us. Something wrong, see the fox, right? Something wrong happened. That's how we are labeling it. We label it as something wrong happened. Something chaotic. But there could, in this breaking down and breaking apart, there's also a breaking open of revelations, right? An awakening could be happening here. Not the awakening of the judgment card, of the call from spirit, but an awakening from being protected and safe inside our tower walls. Our hubris could have been cut off at the knees and we could be experiencing a sudden fall. It could be that. Our ego could be causing our own catastrophe. But this could also be a cracking open. And these are all things that we're feeling, right? which are what is perhaps causing that lack of fire in our fire area, which is causing that ennui, which is causing that apathy, because we just feel so cracked open. And sometimes that happens. Even living an intentional life, things break apart. Now later on, we will surely discover that that breaking apart has been to our benefit. But right now, we're not feeling it, maybe. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. But maybe that's where we want to turn our attention. We want to turn our attention into that revelation, to the awakening that is possible here. Because we're going to move up into the air, and interestingly, right, I said that the Four of Cups, some of those ideas I would more commonly associate with the Four of Swords, because in the sword section we had the Four of Swords. Very interesting. On the top of the spread we have these two fours, which are stable, but the Four of Cups is the stability of, and we also think of sometimes that this card is missing the thing that's being offered, right? We're bored and we're apathetic because we're not really paying attention. So what is this card directing us to do? This card in the Four of Swords, in our mind sphere, we're called to rest. Just rest that little brain of ours. To do some healing, do some meditation, do whatever it will take for us to heal the mind-heart, yeah? Because the mind and heart can use it right now. We want to recuperate. And some of that recuperation could be taking repose, to relaxing. Just take a load off, yeah? Recover. And contemplate, who are we? What do we want? Where do we want to go? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I the heart card, the moon card? Why am I doing those things? Contemplating that might help us to re-evaluate and to recognize the opening that is possible now in the tower. And so, in the practicality of the day-to-day, we have the Five of Cups, which is regret, feelings of failure, disappointment, pessimism even, mourning a loss. And yet in the Five, we've also got those two cups behind, which are things that we could put our attention on the good stuff that's left, but right now, in the practical day-to-day, we keep getting drawn into feeling about the things that we're disappointed about, or things that we regret, or things that have caused us to feel like a failure. Our emotional weight is here in the earth. But it doesn't have to be. We can allow ourselves to turn back and see those things, those two cups there that are standing upright and are there for us. We can turn to see that cup that is being offered by the divine for us to grab a hold of. So these four cards here are pointing us in the direction of, if we are feeling that lack, that apathy in our passion, the emotional cracking down, we want to do the healing of which would require us to focus our attention on mental recovery, which would allow some emotional recovery, which would allow perhaps a recognition of the opening and the awakening that is possible here, which would allow us to, instead of focusing on the day-to-day disappointments or feelings of failure or the pessimism, to turn around and see the things that are good, the cups that are full. Because there's a secret there. A secret that is ready to be opened for us in the book of life. Does that make sense to you? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. I'd really love to hear from you. This reading really feels like it might be mostly for me, just let's say in, but if it's for you, if it has been meaningful for you, I'd love to hear from you. If you would read these cards differently, I would love to hear from you as well. Do you read from another tradition of Lenormand? Let me know. And friends, if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. The Hanged Man in the Moon, shoot me an email, we'll get you a reading. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for liking this video and for subscribing to the channel. All of you who have subscribed have opened up the community tab on the channel. So we've got a poll up there right now. I've got a poll up there, and if you, that poll will be open for at least for another week. In that poll, you'll be able to help me decide how I will handle the second weekly video, the video after this one. Do I continue only on Tarot de Marseille? Do I incorporate other systems? How will I incorporate those? Look at the community tab on the channel and help me decide that, okay, friends? So, here we go. The beginning of our year-long dive into the Lenormand system. I hope this has been of benefit for you. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.